my friends. It's your girl Ari, and we are finally back for season 2, episode 3 of the Run It Back podcast. It's been a while. This used to be a weekly thing, and life has been lifing. You know what I'm saying? So, definitely have been coming on here more sporadically. We're going to do things a little bit differently today. It's going to be a quicker podcast episode. Um, I hope everybody's week has been going well. It is today, it is Sunday, June 16th when we are recording this. So I hope everyone's week before that was nice, or whenever you're hearing this, listening to this. Like I said, we're going to do things a little bit differently today. I'm going to delve a little bit deeper into just a couple stories this week. Usually we'll do a bunch of different categories and talk about a whole bunch of different stuff. But I just wanted to cover a couple of stories that I feel like are really interesting this week that I came across that I want to focus on, and we're gonna see how it goes. So the first thing that we're gonna talk about is all of these are kind of like hot topicy kind of things in the industry right now. So that's the umbrella category for everything that we're going to be talking about for the next couple of minutes. But the first story within that is Swiftonomics and how it is impacting the music industry. So what is Swiftonomics, you ask? The economics of Taylor Swift herself. Okay, so we're going to go through this article from BBC. This is written by Douglas Fraser out in Scotland. And this article has a lot of information, a lot of interesting information that I want to touch on for you guys for a couple of different reasons. So I'm just going to start reading it and we'll go from there, okay? Taylor Swift is not just a musical phenomenon, but a business unicorn too. The Eras Tour, which has arrived in Edinburgh, is reckoned to be pushing her wealth well north of $1 billion. Forbes, the money magazine, reckons that she's worth $600 million from performance, and her back catalog is worth just as much, while she has around $125 million worth of real estate. Okay. Other musicians who have reached such heights have done so by investing their musical earnings in other ventures. This is something I want everyone to focus on. This daughter of Pennsylvania and of a financial broker mints money with astute leverage of her market power, known as Swiftonomics. Just to pause here. Taylor is definitely a phenomenon. She's a great businesswoman. She reminds me, and don't take this out of context, okay? She reminds me a lot of Madonna in the sense of her business savvy is something to be reckoned with. And as we go down this article, it'll talk a little bit about that, and they mentioned the leverage that she has, which is through her fans and through her brand and the totality that it has. And the just how fucking big she is. You know what I'm saying? But she also comes from money, and this is something that has to be remembered when we're talking about successful people, especially in this industry, because nepotism is real, and like socioeconomic standing has to do with where you end up. Okay, so Taylor Swift is who she is. You know what I'm saying? I'm not discrediting who she is, right? But a part of who she is that she comes from money, and she comes from someone who she comes from people who know about money, which sets you up for success, especially in this industry. If you know how to retain ownership, which is obviously something that she has had a whole story with. Yeah, we're going to move forward because I know that there's going to be more for us to talk about. So, she is reputed to demand more than 100% of gross ticket sales, leaving promoters to make their margins from sales on food and drink extras. That's why they want ticket holders to get there early. I think that that's something that is extremely interesting, and just another example of like Taylor's leverage, because that doesn't happen too often. But she's able to because they want to make the money. They're going to make money regardless. but they want to make the money of having Taylor there. Anyways, by doing multiple nights in one venue, she cuts touring costs and forces her fans to come to her. So right now we're just talking about things that Taylor does to make as much money as possible. Anyways, as Edinburgh is showing, and London soon will, they do what? They do so in very big numbers, some over long distances. We are told that the financial savvy is a part of her appeal to her fan base. She took Apple over royalties for tracks and streamed, for tracks streamed on its music service, and she won. She did the same with Spotify, refusing to let her songs go on in its free-to-use service. Harvard Law School uses her as an example of negotiating power, saying in its teaching materials, Taylor Swift was able to turn her back on negotiations with Spotify because she had no shortage of other negotiating partners, eager to work with her. The 34-year-old is smart and has become very rich by dictating terms to music industry bosses and selling it to that fan base, and they love her for it. So I think that this is interesting just in the sense of like how her business savvy, and I think this is again kind of similar to Madonna, is a part of her brand, and it's a part of the appeal because, of course, girl boss. You know what I'm saying? And the fans love it, and the young girls love it, and that, obviously her audience, I will say that I respect Taylor Swift and the brand that she has. She's not my cup of tea, and I've said so many different things about her on this podcast. But one thing that I will say about her is that her audience has aged with her, and she's continued to bring in the younger fans while staying in the same wheelhouse for a lot of it, you know what I'm saying? And it's interesting to see how her audience grows with her as she has redone that music from earlier in her career. And it's very, like, as this article describes, it's very impressive, the fact, like, just what Taylor's brand has done over the years. I will also note here that Taylor doesn't care about the environment, okay? So while we're having this whole conversation about how much fucking money Taylor Swift is making and how the industry wants to try to, capture that in a bottle and make it work for other artists, which I think you can learn something from everything, so I'm not saying... Anyways. One of the reasons that Taylor makes so much money, and we see it when we're talking about cutting touring costs, and we'll talk a little bit about that later, and the price of touring and all of that kind of stuff, or just how difficult it is right now for traveling and touring musicians. But a part of that is that a lot of the times the cheapest option, especially when it comes to music and touring, is not necessarily the best thing for the environment. Like, there's a lot that could be said about that. But basically, I think that it's very clear that Taylor is, like, willing to cut corners in order to maximize her profit. And her fans don't care. So that's something to be said about that, you know what I'm saying? Just in terms of, like, blind fandom and just parasocial relationships and not giving a fuck about, like, what people do for real, that, like, actually affects them. Because it's one thing for, like, a song to, touch you, and we're here for the music, so I love that. I love when music connects to people and all of that good stuff. But, like, you having a brand that is also a corporation that you are responsible for, that you are the face, it's you, it's your face, it's your likeness, it's Taylor Swift, is, like, known to be one of the biggest fucking pollutants in the industry. And it's just her fans don't care, and that means that she has no incentive to do anything about it, you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna note that, because I feel like I always have to give a little bit of, like, Taylor hate, I guess you could say. But but I don't want to say hate. I'll just say Taylor critique. There we go. I have to. Anyways, let's move forward. While Investor had right to her recordings, she retained the composer's rights. This is talking about redoing her stuff, and this is just further examples of, she definitely stands on business. I will say that. Taylor Swift stands on business. You can put that on a t-shirt. Something else that they talk about, because of course she has all these stories with streaming, is that she has also helped in terms of the resurgence and the return of vinyl. A lot of her, and they love to mention this, a lot of people who buy Taylor Swift vinyl don't listen to vinyl. It's about having a collector's item and about having something with Taylor's face on it that you think is cool, something that you can fucking pay her for. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, there's a lot to be said about it. Basically, Taylor's doing really good. I think we all know that. Some of the things that they touch on in terms of what they think the industry is going to take from it, or things that we should be taking it, first of all is digital downloads. Taylor's been doing that. It's been successful for her, so the industry is taking heed to that and paying attention to it. And the other thing that they mention in here that I just think is a fun little tidbit, because we'll touch more on it later. Where should I start this? Okay. The other thing, I don't know how this is typed. I feel like my brain is mush right now. What they're talking about right here is the fact that people go to streaming platforms to find new music and new musicians. People are not going out to the local circuits to find music. It's not happening anymore. At least as much as it used to. But as someone who is in a local music and arts community, yeah, it definitely could be thriving a lot more for a lot of different reasons, and a part of it is that the public showing up and not just the creatives around. You know what I'm saying? Anyways. People are less likely to go to pubs and clubs in the hopes of seeing the next big thing while it's still a smash. The pipeline of bands learning their trade in smaller venues is slowing, which alarms some of those in bigger venues, particularly when they look at the age profile of the performers who are able to fill them. That takes us to the split in earnings between performance and recording. It used to be that bands went on the road to promote their latest album. Now they produce an album to promote their tour. I want to focus on this because it shows these really, really important ways in which the industry is currently changing right now. And I've said this so many times that we're going to continue talking about touring in another story later on that I might just end up doing right after this because I feel like it makes sense to. But it starts with the culture, right? So the culture is changing. The pandemic happened. Everyone was staying inside. Right after the pandemic, when people were allowed to fucking go outside, there was this moment of resurgence, and the music industry rebuilt itself. Now, something that I want to know is that when we say the music industry rebuilt itself, it means the numbers got back to where they used to be, okay? So let's be cognizant of that. That doesn't mean that the people in the industry are necessarily doing better, or that the industry itself is necessarily doing better. That's a whole other conversation. But the numbers got back up to where they needed to be. People started going to shows again, etc., etc. But over the years, just generally, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that it's, being shown here in this article, people are just not going out anymore. Now, I don't know, well, let me not say that. People are not going out, once again, to find new music and to see new people, to see live music that isn't a concert per se, right? Now, is this due to a lack of booking, a lack of marketing? Is it a lack of quality musicians? I don't know. I think that there's a lot of different reasons that could be the case depending on the area that you're in. Now, of course, if we're talking about entertainment centered cities, like you go out to Nashville, people are going out to hear new people, but like I said, it starts with the culture. And connecting it to some other stuff that we're going to talk about, we're also going to talk about Dallas, the Dallas Music Office. So it also has to do with like the government, your local government. What are they doing to pour into the artistic and entertainment based industries locally? And on that local level, not bringing the corporations locally. You know what I'm saying? So that is something that I really wanted to touch on with this being in this article. Let's see. Back catalog investment is another thing that people have been talking about a lot, just when it pertains to Taylor, but just in general as well. We're also going to talk about that. I'm going to move forward. Goodbye. Oh, this is a good one, but we're going to save it for later because we're going to start with this one. And I actually found out about this, the one we were just at, from this one, which is crazy, but we'll get there. So 2024 was supposed to be a great summer for live music. It's not turning out that way. The last couple of years have been great for the live music industry after being locked up in the pandemic for a couple of years. Blah 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 blah. We just talked about that. There were a couple of excellent years as revenues exploded. Once again, we bounced back because the money bounced back. Anyways, however, things are getting a little cloudy. We might have reached some kind of breaking point. I first wrote about this problem back in April. Let's give her credit, or him. Let's see. Alan Cross. Let's give him his credit. Wrote about this back in April. When it appeared there was a lack of enthusiasm for this year's crop of music festivals. For the first time in years, Coachella was struggling to sell out. A worrying number of Australian music festivals were cancelled. Word in the UK was that festival happy Brits were sitting on their wallets, endangering many festivals. Since then, things have only become worse. At last count, at least 40 British festivals have been called off, with many others on both sides of the Atlantic, either teetering or announcing that they're done after 2024. Jennifer Lopez canceled her entire tour. The Black Keys Arena tour was postponed so it could be scaled down to a more intimate, smaller venue. Busta Rhymes called off his Blockbuster tour after scoping out a European tour. 311 has decided to call off everything, citing rising costs of touring overseas. Pink and Justin Timberlake have canceled a couple of shows each. The Jonas Brothers were going to Europe, but not anymore. Guitarist Robin Trower announced he is staying home. I've heard from other mid-range acts. Artists you would think could reliably draw good crowds said that the economics of touring just don't make any sense. While it's still early in the summer touring season, promoters continue to worry if punters will show up for gigs that they've got scheduled down the line. What's going on? The short version is that people have run out of money. They are having to make hard choices about what shows that they'll attend and which ones they'll have to miss. Acts like Taylor Swift, Beyonce, and Madonna have drained bank accounts as people not only attend local shows but traveled out of market gigs. U2's 40-night stand at the Sphere in Las Vegas, which was worth the price of a ticket, by the way, grossed $240 million. With tickets for superstar acts so expensive, it's easy to blow the annual allocation for concerts with just one or two shows, meaning there's nothing left over to spend money on mid-range or emerging acts. I want you to remember that. I'm going to say it again. With tickets for superstar acts so expensive, it's easy to blow the annual allocation for concerts on just one or two shows, meaning there's nothing left over to spend on mid-range or emerging acts. With so many people struggling with the cost of living, concert ticket sales, shock comes into play. At a show that a fan might attend on a whim is the first to go. Casual music fans are staying home to watch Netflix. Even hardcore fans are balking at spending $100 for nosebleed seats. Ancillary expenses have also gone up. It's not uncommon to see parking lots near venue charge $40 and above for a space Inside food and drink costs more, and if you want to travel away from home to see a show, there's a matter of transportation and accommodation. La da 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 da. Yeah, and then this is crazy. Anyone wanting to find a fucking hotel for the Eras tour was going to be faced with $2,000 a night for a lot of these hotels because of price surging. Basically, it's too damn expensive. Basically, it's too damn expensive for everyone. It's too expensive for the consumer, and it's getting to be too expensive to actually tour. Because it costs a lot of money to pay everyone, to get everyone there, to market, the costumes, everything that you have to think about when it comes to touring it's a lot of money, and you put the money up to get there so that you make the money from the tickets once you get there, and if you have partnerships and sponsorships, that's a whole other thing. But it's a difficult fucking grind. And the thing that is interesting, going back to, like, the culture has been shifting, and it is shifting, and the industry is changing, and the way that this shit works is changing. They talked about you promote your new album, and now you make an album to go on tour. Touring has always been a huge part of the industry. Of course, it's live music, it's music, it's gonna have a place. But it's always played a big part in how musicians make their money. And we're seeing that change in a lot of different ways, because it's still one of the ways that you can make this shit lucrative. You have to think about it in some capacity, because it's a stream of income. It's a way to make money. You know what I'm saying? But it's becoming harder to execute without already having the resources to put up for it. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's what they're talking about. And I just think it's unfortunate because, first of all, the fans suffer not being able to see shows for whatever reason it is, whether it's because they're not happening, because the artists that they love aren't touring anymore, or because it's too expensive for them to attend. It's also unfortunate for the emerging acts and the people who are kind of like shot out of the conversation. And I appreciate this author for making a note of the fact that they suffer. But the reason why I feel like that is so detrimental and so bad for the industry is because we have to continue to have new talent. Now, listen, I understand that the market is oversaturated right now, and everyone wants to make music, and everyone wants to do... People are going to have their time, and people's time is going to move on. There's been so many fucking people of influence and fame and whatever throughout history. There's room for everyone. You know what I'm saying? And also, not everyone is built for this. Not everyone who, like, wants to do this is going to get to the height that they're at. Once again, people are going to come and people are going to go. Now, we still need to foster the stars and the talent, like that generational talent. We still need to foster that. We need to continue finding it. And I think that local and emerging industries, when it comes to music, that's where everything starts. That is where everything begins. That is the breeding ground for creatives. You know what I'm saying? And if that suffers, you know, the industry as a whole and the essence of the music and the product that comes out of it, I just feel like it's going to be tainted, and it's not going to be as good as it could be. You know what I'm saying? Of course, I also, once again, of course, I work in this sphere of the industry, so I care about it a lot. But generally, it's troubling for the industry at large that touring is becoming so expensive, and that this is the trajectory that we're seeing. So obviously, we have to find solutions. What that is, I'm not sure. I'm just here to give you the news. You know what I'm saying? That's about it. Okay. Moving on. I'm going to go into the Dallas music office portion of this because I feel like it's fitting, because we're talking about local centralized shit. Okay, so how the new Dallas music office hopes to grow the local music industry and build community. How perfect is that? This is written by Stephanie Sales Vega. All right. Dallas now has its own music office. Visit Dallas announced the launch of its new music hub designed to promote and support the Dallas music industry. The Dallas Music Office will cater to artists, venues, and music enthusiasts through initiatives, education, and partnerships. Dallas is chock full of artists and amazing talent. We've had this for years, John McNary, Dallas Music Office manager, said. There's nothing aggregating it and amplifying it, so it's a goal for us to provide that voice and establish a community with musicians and local businesses. McNary will be leading the office alongside Christina Kirkener-Hart, Director of Cultural Tourism for Visit Dallas. McNary is a graduate of the University of North Texas and previously worked as a producer and artist developer at Creative Factory, an artist development company and recording label in Dallas. The office is an extension of Visit Dallas and the Texas Music Office, which is based in Austin. The Texas Music Office certifies Texas cities that are serious about developing music industry growth. Dallas was certified in 2021. Kirkener-Hart said that the city had been slowly working on developing the office for years after it was certified. She spoke to many music industry folks during the development, who said that they feel siloed in the community. She sees the Dallas Music Office as the missing puzzle piece. We literally have all of the puzzle pieces. We just don't have that final puzzle piece to bring it together and give the industry people a sense of community. Ultimately, we want to hear from the broader community. As far as getting in touch with us, the best moment is just through our social media. So if you want to partner, work with them in some way, let's see. Dallas Love Field, Dallas Entertainment Awards in downtown Dallas Inc. and DART. While there are no set dates yet, the office plans to host educational panels, workshops, town hall meetings, which will allow community members to voice their ideas, and other events throughout the year. Educational panels will be something like how to run a successful music business, how to book shows, how to manage finances, starting an LLC production, and on, which is all really, really good stuff. For example, if a venue wants to hire them, they'll be able to go to our website, do a search for we need this type of band, and that type of band will pop up in our system. That's super awesome. There's a lot of talent, and we're here to support the talent, but there's also talent that doesn't really know how to access the support. We're here for all of them, period. So the reason that I wanted to put this in is that, number one, it's some happy news, first of all, that this is happening, in the world, in Texas. Now, they did mention that Texas has a music office in Austin, so this isn't necessarily new to them. I think that they said 2021 is when that was established. So they're not new to putting funding and time into the arts and into music specifically. And first of all, understanding that it's good for them, they make money from it, number one. And number two, that it works. And that having these things in place does actually help grow these spaces. Because when you think about Texas, especially for what it means for music, a lot has happened from Texas in the past couple of years. But also, you think about the South by circuit, and you see that, they have a proven concept with South by for years and years and years that I think is really helped them set up for this. Now, of course, I'm based in Orlando, and they have a couple of different things going on that I can't even think of off the top of my head. But I know that Maxwell Frost has done a couple of different things recently to help the arts. So make sure that you check him out and get active and see what he has going on, because if there's anyone doing stuff like this in the community that I'm currently in, that's who it is, Maxwell Frost. So make sure that you tap in with your local cities and figure out the resources that they do have, if any, and if they don't, try to figure out how you can get some in there, because this is what we need. We cannot do this all by ourselves. Government money is necessary for the local communities to thrive, and so that the artists that I spoke about, those emerging acts that are a part of the big pile of humans that want to do this, that need to be vetted and developed, and so that the one, you know what I'm saying? They need resources, they need education, and they need the actual access and ability to grow and to get better and to go further in their career, okay? All right, so let's talk about something boring and quick and simple. Havas Group and Universal Music Group joined to offer new income opportunities for artists. What are those new income opportunities, you ask? So this little blurb it doesn't tell you, doesn't say anything about what those income opportunities exactly are. What it does talk about is data, and that's why I wanted to talk about it and touch on it really quickly, because if it's something that I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about something multiple times so that you fucking remember it and you get it in your head, okay? What is that? The power of data. So data is something that, of course, being in like the conference circuit, you hear about it a lot. Metadata is something that you hear about a lot. Data in all of these different forms and facets. Now, you also might know about how like people sell your data and my data and all of our data. It's very valuable. Why is it valuable? Okay? Your data is valuable because your data helps the other person, whoever is trying to sell you fucking something, your data helps them sell it to you. How does it do that? It takes all of the information that it knows about you through data, whatever data that may be. Now that could have to do with like your age and who you are and where you're located. And it can also have to do with like, are you a mom, a brother, a sister? It has to do with who you are as a person. Every little point and sector of your life is a data point, okay? That someone wants to know about so that they can exploit you and get your money, okay? This is just real, okay? And that's what this is talking about. So I'm going to read through it just a little bit, but that's basically the gist of what you need to know about why this is happening and why I put it in here, okay? Havas Group and Universal Music Group announced its formation in the Global Alliance of Musical Data, a partnership that will allow billions of data that Universal Music Group and its artists generated through music sales, tickets, streaming sales, social networking, and airplay be aggregated and analyzed by specialists in data of Havas. The results provide new income opportunities for artists and labels, creating a powerful marketing and advertising opportunities globally. Our commitment to the development of artists worldwide has resulted in the best record in the industry to identify and exploit new stars, Lucian Grange said. So there's Daddy Lucy. Anyways, yeah, basically what I said, they're not telling you exactly what the new income opportunities are, because it's not like a new product or it's finding new ways to sell to you. That's what it is. It's finding new ways to sell to you through data. And I will, because I just went kind of on like an anti-capitalist rant in my own world. This is also important for the artists and for the entrepreneurs and for the music business people, just to hone in that you're the one trying to sell to people. You're the one trying to sell to people, okay? Now, I'm going to make this point because I don't think that makes you evil. I'm trying to sell to people too. I don't think that makes you evil. I think that a lot of these people are evil. But, you know, we're all just trying to live, try to come up, trying to do what we love, okay? So I don't think you're a bad person for using data and learning sales and understanding how to sell to people through data. I'm mentioning this specifically for the point so that I hope you do use it. I want you to be successful. I want you to have the tools that everybody else who is successful is using. You know what I'm saying? Now, it's your decision to do whatever you want and act however you want. Always have integrity. Always move in a way that you would be proud of. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm going to say about that. But data is important, and you have a lot of it at your fingertips. There's a lot of tools that you can use to get more if you want more than what you have. But utilize what's at your disposal when it comes to your social media, when it comes to your streaming, and if you have a website, when it comes to your website, okay? Make sure you have a website so you can own your data. Anyways, once again, a little bit different today. What time is it? 1:38. We're doing okay on time. Where do I want to go next? Let's go here. Music startup Matchtune is helping L'Oreal avoid lawsuits. I'm going to sum this up. Basically, L'Oreal don't want to go what Marriott Hotels just recently went through, which is getting sued by Sony because they participated in social media and used sounds. Like that's what it is, but it's copyright infringement. Because it's promotional content. There's, I truly, whoever the lawyers of like Marriott is, and whoever is the social media member, I can't necessarily blame them for not knowing, because I think that it is a very industry specific like this type of intellectual property, I guess, but at the same time, not really. Not really. Yeah, no, I actually completely take that back, because this is a new landscape when it comes to social media that we've talked about for a long time, when it comes to like intellectual property and making sure that everyone is properly paid. But how do you make that happen? And content ID and when and why do you have to pay and all that fucking shit. Okay. But these huge corporations, they have huge legal teams and they deal with intellectual property all the fucking time. The first thing off of the top of my head that is just like, I know that you have to deal with this, so it makes me feel like there should be some type of understanding, is just even just for commercials. Like you have to license the music for commercials. And even though it's on social media, if you're advertising something, if you're promoting something, you see where I'm going? You see where I'm going. You can't use other people's intellectual property. And like, I'm sorry, Marriott, but you're not a person. It's not a personal account. It's not a personal account. Okay? You can't do it. That was a long rant for no reason. Basically, L'Oreal is partnering with Matchtune to avoid stuff like that happening. So all of their stuff is gonna have, guess what? AI motherfucking music. Okay, so this is, of course, just an advancement in that space and the fact that that is happening and that big companies are beginning to utilize that stuff. And I will say, this is taking money away from licensing, to humans, to an extent. And we'll talk about that when this gets up. Because, of course, if they're using AI-generated music, that's music that could have been made. So we're talking about opportunity cost. It's music that could have been made by a human being, and they could have licensed for it. They could have made some money. Now, this is taking forever to load. So I'm going to give a second. We're going to move on to something else, because I really just wanted to touch on that and also show you this platform, because I think there's some cool stuff about it that, and that's what this is about. So we'll touch back on that in a moment. We're going to talk about this, and then the last story just, I feel like, it's so crazy and dystopic and fucking makes me so mad that I have to save it till the end. So, catalog hits. Oh, let's try that again. Catalog hits were soaring on the charts. Why have they fallen off in 2024? So, I'm going to summarize this one too. Now, if you want, you can pause to read this. But basically, they're talking about how the market is oversaturated. And, okay, I have to go lower down for you to see that. Let's find it. Oh, Lord. Okay. They're talking about it a little bit here. Basically, the market is too oversaturated with new music for the old stuff to have a resurgence in the same way that it was. Now, I have mixed feelings about that sentiment, because there was still a lot of music coming out then, when the resurgence was happening, which I can give you some dates when it talks about it at the top here, to 2023, and I know like 2021 was another year for that. Anyways, there was still a lot of music coming out. There was still a lot of music coming out. Now, we're definitely in a point in time where, like, a lot of big artists are releasing big projects that are saturating the market. But I just feel like the culture of listenership has changed just so much. And I think the issue with this, essentially, is the trying to catch it in a bottle motif that happens with the music industry so much. Basically, I feel like the industry wants so bad for things to happen that they try too hard and it just doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? Like, because the reason that these songs popped off, first of all, is because of virality, okay? Which is another thing that people in the industry is trying to catch in a bottle. So in order to re-blow a song and to get it back up to the charts and have it have that resurgence, it's more than likely going to have a viral moment, which is where you have to start. And I think that that's being lost here. And I think that they're talking about a lot of different things that could have to do with this or that. And I think, in all honesty, it just comes down to marketing, and it comes down to, like, having a plan with something. Okay, so, like, a lot of this stuff happens spur of the moment. It happened from the fans, and that happens a lot. Like, that resurging of songs, like, communities will get together and decide that they want to push something, to make a goal happen for a record or whatever the situation is. Oh my gosh, my brain. I feel like I just got so lost in my thought. Oh, where am I? What am I doing? This is bad. Is this long COVID symptoms of, like, brain fog? Lord, help me. Yeah, I just feel like there has to be a plan with what you're doing. So a lot. Oh, that took me a minute. A lot of these things happen spur of the moment. They happen from the fans. It wasn't like these artists planned for their music to have a resurgence, is the point of what I'm saying. It just happened. And it was a great surprise. Obviously, the difference is now people are trying to make that happen. And that already is a difference in itself. But you have to try to find a way that it feels organic. I think that that's the point of it. It has to feel organic and have an organic and a real moment. You can't have to force it, but you have to, like, if you want something to happen, you have to actively try for it. You have to put promotional materials out for it if you want something to move forward. You can't just, like, expect for music to have resurgence. And that was a little bit of the vibe that I got from this article, and it kind of bothered me, and I just kind of wanted to talk about it. I couldn't think about it for more than 10 minutes without my brain dying on me, but that's crazy. Sometimes that's just how it goes. I'm going to try one more time for this website, and if it doesn't go through, we're just going to have to deal with it. But essentially, I'll give you the gist. This is an AI startup tech company. Let me not call them a startup, but that's what it gives. Anyways, that has a couple of different AI algorithms that do a couple of different things. The one that I wanted to specifically, it's not going through. The one that I specifically wanted to talk to you guys about was, like, for musicians to help with intellectual property, and essentially scanning the internet for your content wherever it's posted, so that you can prosecute and persecute whoever is using your shit without your permission. And it has a bunch of pretty cool features. It gives you like the opportunity cost, which is something that I thought was really interesting. A bunch of data, and just all of the sources of where people are using your intellectual property. So that's something that you can, use on your end. And then of course for musicians or for brands, they do what they're doing for L'Oreal, with supplying music, but they also have AI that like edits videos. It's pretty cool. Go check it out for yourself. As always, I haven't mentioned this. There's going to be a document with all of the links for everything that we talk about today. I said I was going to save this for last. Really quickly, just to touch on Kendrick and Drake and the aftermath of everything, as everything kind of like fizzles out, because people are still talking about it. Okay, I want that to be said. 2 days ago, somebody dropped a 4-hour breakdown of Drake and Kendrick's fucking relationship with each other. So like, people are still making content out of it. It is still a hot topic, still something to be spoken about. And it's history. It is history. Okay, so I just really quickly wanted to say on the record that Drake lost. I feel like I've said it before on this podcast, but I just feel like I need to cement it, and I need to give you a little bit of 2 cents. I'm not even going to speak on who Drake is and all of the ways that I feel about it, or his level of talent, or anything of that nature. All I'm going to say is that Kendrick is better in every single way. Kendrick is better in every single way, and I think that this beef really displayed that, and this shit is deeper. Why? What is going on? Why are we going to YouTube right now? And this shit is deeper than just the moment. You know what I'm saying? So, if you don't know, everything started, because no one really, I don't know, who knows. Everything started with the Control verse on Big Sean's song, Control. So Kendrick did a verse on that where, if you don't know the story or the song, he named a bunch of people, basically said, I have love for you, but I want to kill all of you. And basically Drake was a bitch about it. I don't know if I covered this the last episode, if we talked about this. Basically Drake was a bitch about it, and like every interview, fucking anytime he's ever talked about it, you can just see that it really bothered him. Like, it really, 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 really bothered him, because he thinks he's just so much, his ego was hurt. His ego was hurt, and it just got under his feathers, or under his skin, rather. His scales, maybe, I don't know. And, he really held on to that grudge. And there has been things that have happened, like, throughout the years. Obviously, it's not just that, but that's where things began. And when you go back to a lot of those, interviews and comments that he made, he talked a lot about how that verse was a moment, and that Drake is interested in creating music that lasts, and longevity, and being essentially very condescending. And it was very passive aggressive. Like, I don't give a fuck. Looking back at that footage, like, you could just tell that he's so hurt, and he does his best to really try and belittle Kendrick, like, son him, lil bro him. That's what he's doing, whether it's for himself or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And I just think that this is such a full circle moment, and I feel like, I'm an underdog. The underdog always comes out on top, bro. And even calling someone an underdog in, like, the way that Drake did within those times, like, was a slight. And I just think it's so funny to come to where we are now and look back. First of all, we're still talking about the Control verse, okay? I'm talking to you about it right now. It was not just a moment. And I think that Kendrick put it best on Euphoria when he said, I make music that, or you make music that pacify them. I make music that electrify them. If you want to talk about longevity and like what is a classic and this and that, a big critique for Drake for a long time has been like he doesn't make a lot of music with substance. And I'm sorry, but you can't have a classic if it don't have substance. Like if you're not talking about something, now I give credit where credit is due. Drake has music that will stay with me in my brain and heart and memories forever. Like because he represents something. You know what I'm saying? He is a pop star. He is this. He is da 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 da. Right? In my opinion, and I think it was just displayed, like Kendrick is just Kendrick is a true artist. Like Kendrick is a true artist, and that's gonna make him better than anything less than that. Okay, and Drake, I think, has proven himself to be less than that in a lot of different ways. The way that he responded and to all of his responses to this beef in general were like, I think it everything really just speaks for itself. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to touch on it because it's been an obsession of mine, if I'm gonna be so for real with you. Now I want to find the article that I was looking at a minute ago that I cannot find for some reason now. Here we go. This is probably the most important thing that we'll talk about today, so I'm going to take a moment to talk about it and really talk about it, and I really hope that this shit loads. If not, I'll just have to go off of the top of my head. But basically, work visas for international musicians have gone up by like 250%. So meaning if you are from a country that is not the United States and you want to tour in the United States, the visa application and process has gone up over 250%. It used to be, and this happened in April, and I haven't heard anyone talking about this, and that's why I really wanted to fucking talk about it. It used to be about $450 to apply, which is already expensive, but okay. Yeah, now it's like $1,400 to apply per person. You can have that expedited if you don't have months and months and months to spend. But you might be rejected and there's no refunds. You don't get that money back. So depending on how much your band is, or how many people are touring, rather, going on the tour, it can be tens and tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars just to apply now. This is horrific for a lot of different reasons. It's xenophobic, which is just something within itself. And I don't understand, like, the justification for this is, like, we want people to be doing like what they say they're doing with their visa, and making them pay an absorbent amount of money is going to ensure that only people who are actually musicians are going to be using these work visas, which I just think, like, I don't know, like, I think it's really fucking stupid, and it's just really unfortunate because, number one, it's really unfortunate because it means that the U.S. is not going to be able to get that music and get those experiences from those artists, and those musicians and those industries globally, the global music industry is going to suffer, essentially, and the U.S. is going to suffer because it's going to be the thing that is being, like, how do I, not necessarily pushed out, because the thing about the U.S. is that it is an apple on the tree. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is a huge part of the music industry, and for so much comes out of it, so much money is generated through the US market. It is what it is. So it's not that, I don't think that the US market is like going to plummet and that we're going to necessarily be pushed aside. I think we're going to be forced to isolate is what's going to happen. And I don't think that that's necessarily going to be good at large. But I do want to say this. It does give us an opportunity when it comes to everything that we've been talking about when it comes to like localized music and stuff like that. Obviously, we have a lot of great musicians in the US and huge musicians in the US that people can go and spend their money on. But we also need to be continuing to spend our money on people who are local, who are smaller. We need to like go out and support, and not only support but put on small localized, and let me not say small, but we need to put on localized events for our communities that help musicians and creatives that are up and coming and that are learning and that are getting a foothold. We need to start building those bridges, you know what I'm saying? Because if we continue to get isolated, we might as well make use of it. You know what I'm saying? If they're not coming, we might as well put our brain power and our energy into the people that are at home and that are making money and that are trying to, elevate and develop here. You know what I'm saying? So, but that shit is fucking crazy. Like, I saw that, and I saw that it happened in April, and I was like, dude, I'm so surprised that I have not heard anyone speak a peep about that, because that's crazy. 250% for the application process, just for them to possibly say no to you, is crazy. Anyways, with that being said, I've been talking for a while, y'all. I've had multiple embarrassing moments today, which I feel like it always happens, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes brain fog is real. I went out last night. We're here and we made it through. We made it happen. I hope once again that you had a great week and that you're preparing to have a great week coming up. Okay. Drink your water, eat your veggies, listen to good music, get your body moving, go the fuck outside. And I will see you whenever I see you, because obviously these have been way more sporadic. But I'll see you when I see you, and I'll see you soon. Okay?